Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to talk about The Key to Time, Season 16. And this is a good one. I like Season 16 for the most part. It's very different for classic Doctor Who, as it is a season that attempts a seasonal arc. Now, to be fair, much like Russell T. Davis's era, Russell T. Davis 1, I should say, where the series have a seasonal arc, but they are very light. I still think of the episodes being pretty standalone episodes with a light seasonal arc sprinkled through them. That's a lot how The Key to Time is. It does have a seasonal arc of assembling the pieces, but each episode or each story is very much its own thing, with just a seasonal arc kind of sprinkled in it. The plot, basically the plot driving the beginning of each story forward, with them trying to assemble the key to time. So it's not like the seasonal arc. It doesn't feel like it's serialized stuff like, say, Babylon 5, for example, or the reboot and inferior version of Battlestar Galactica, which the 78 version is better. Let's just be honest about that. It's very much more just a light sprinkling of a serialized arc, much like the early Russell T. Davis seasons. Now, I like Season 16. This is the first season where Graham Williams really, I feel like, gets to do what he wants to do. Matter of fact, he had pitched this idea to get the job. It's one of the reasons he got the job, was pitching this idea. He just wasn't able to do it for Season 15 because there were already plans in place for Season 15, or at least parts of Season 15. With Bob Holmes having stuck around for the first few stories of that. So you really have Anthony Reed and Graham Williams really being able to do their own thing this season. And I like the stories you actually have, despite being a serialized season, at least to a light degree. You do have a nice variety of stories. And I enjoy most of them to one degree or another. And I just like the variety in them. I like Tom in this. Tom is good every season, but as we all know, the Fourth Doctor is not always the same every season, but he's still, I really like this match with him here, especially in something like The Pirate Planet, where you have Douglas Adams writing the story, and Douglas Adams really gets the Fourth Doctor, and Douglas Adams and Tom Baker just fit together like pieces of a puzzle. It's not surprising to me that they got on well. Because Douglas and Tom both get the Fourth Doctor better than anyone else. I love Romana 1. I absolutely love Romana 1. She is my preferred version of Romana. I really like Mary Tam in the role. Now, as the series progresses, she does feel like she gets reduced more to a damsel in distress role. Like, I don't feel like the role was as fleshed out as it should have been. And I really think that's probably one of the reasons why Mary Tam left. I felt like the role had nowhere to go, nowhere she could take it. And to be fair, I understand why she only stayed for the one season. I do feel like Mary Tam and Romana 1 did not get the writing they deserved. She did not get the character development she deserved. Much like Susan, actually, although Romana 1 is far better than Susan. It's like they set her up to do some good things in Ribos Operation, and maybe even Pirate Planet. But by the Androids of Tara, she feels more like woman in distress. Help me, what do I do? I'm captured. I mean, she gets kidnapped like twice in that story. And so I feel like she was done a bit of a disservice, the character and the actress, in this season, to be fair. I do like the chemistry between her and Tom and the Fourth Doctor and Romana. I do enjoy that here. I love some of their scenes together in the Ribos Operation, which is a good story. Which is a good segue into the Ribos Operation, or the Rebus. I always say it wrong, the Rebus Operation. I love this one. This is Bob Holmes, of course. You guys know I'm a huge fan of this one. I like the actual story. I enjoy it. I like the guest cast. I like the main cast. I like the story of the White Guardian giving the Doctor this mission. I love that bit about what happens if I don't. Nothing. Nothing? Yes, nothing. Ever. Oh. I recently read the novelization of this story as well and enjoyed it. I love the guy playing the Grath of Vindicay. He is really good. Like, you could argue he's almost reaching the over-the-top point, but not quite. He does it in a good way. I love the way he plays the character. I love the guy playing his right hand, Shellac. I like him a lot. He's really good, the character and the actor. The guy playing Ustav is really good as well. The guy playing the other one, is it Ustav? I think Ustav's the bigger one. I like the bigger one of the con men. The skinnier one, not as much. I don't know. The actor just kind of lets me down there, especially when he's doing the Strange Stone part. Don't really care for that. And then the guy who plays Benro is really good. He nails that part. So most of the casting for it's pretty solid. I enjoy the set designs. Yeah, the actual creature, whatever they call the little dragon thing, looks a bit naff, let's be honest, but it's classic Who. But I enjoy the dialogue. Bob Holmes always writes great dialogue, so I enjoy the dialogue in it. I love again, it's kind of over-the-topness sometimes of the Graph Vindicate. I just feel like it's a fun story to really get us going in the season. And I like Tom's got some good dialogues. I really like some of the conversations between the Doctor and, I think it might be Ustav, the guy playing the larger con man. I really like some of the dialogue between them. It's a really fun story and a really good way to start the season. This, of course, leads us into The Pirate Planet, which is my favorite story of the season. I tend to love Douglas Adams' writing. I love The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I love the first 4 books of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm not a big fan of Mostly Harmless, to be honest. I think after Douglas passed, someone else wrote like another book that takes place afterwards. I've never read it. I want to read that. Somebody should send me that. I would love, because I don't even know the name of it, but I would love to get a hold of that. But the first 4 Hitchhiker's Guide books are fantastic. And of course, I tend to love season 17 as well, which we'll get to when we review that. I tend to love Douglas Adams' sense of humor and his style of writing a lot. So I really enjoy The Pirate Planet. Is it a little more comedic than it could be? Possibly. But that was something the Williams era had been told to do, to tone down the violence and to make it a little funnier. But they wanted to get away from some of the Hinchcliffe era stuff. I mean, that's the reason why Philip Hinchcliffe wasn't there anymore, was all the complaints from Mary Whitehouse and stuff. So they wanted to tone down the violence and tone up the campiness a little bit. And this story has that. Now, it isn't perfect. Moving on to The Pirate Planet, which is another really good story, my favorite story of the season. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I love Douglas Adams writing for the 4th Doctor. I just do. It's one of the reasons I enjoy season 17 so much. I just feel like Douglas Adams is just made to write for the 4th Doctor. I like The Pirate Planet a lot. I feel like Romana, while getting captured, it's still playing on her being naive. Because again, she doesn't have a lot of street smart. She's very book smart, but not a lot of street smart, not a lot of experience. And I think that's played to good use here. I think that's done very well here. Some of the effects hurt it. The weakest part for The Pirate Planet is the effects. This is the season 16 story that needs updated effects. I know some people would argue Power of Kroll, and I completely understand why they would think that, but you would need a budget pretty much in scale with Avengers Endgame to make Power of Kroll look good. So I say take that money, give it to Pirate Planet, give me some updated laser effects, because I never liked the laser effects of the guns in this story, where it's just the little dots hitting things. It's just unimpressive. It's wimpy. And then change the sound effect, as Vera pointed out when she was talking about Pirate Planet on Council of Geeks. Change the sound effect. It's just such a wimpy effect. It's not intimidating at all. It just feels like a little light gun. So change the sound effect. Give me some actual laser blast there. When the Mintiats use their powers, isn't very impressive either, the effects. I mean, you just look like Mintiats to me. When they're knocking Tom down, when they're creating force fields. This really needs some updated effects. I mean, the original effects are tolerable. The story is so good, I can overlook them. But if they do give it some optional updated effects, it would make what I consider to be a 9 out of 10 story, 10.5 out of 10 story. Because I like the story. I feel like Bruce is putting in such a good performance as the captain. I love Bruce as the captain. And the guy playing Mr. Fibuli is great too. And I like them together. They're a great double act. And then it's interesting because, like, if you read the novelization, especially the newer release, which follows some of Douglas's earlier drafts, like when the Mentiats were called the Mourners, which I actually have right up here out of camera range, it does a better job of explaining just how intelligent and crafty the captain is. You do get a feel for that more in the book. Because the TV version leans into its camp and its comedy a bit, which it's great at, for the record. I love that. I think if you're not paying attention, you can lose track of just how great of a character the captain is. And how a lot of his blustering and loudness is him putting on a show. Because as we all know, if you've seen the story, the Queen is actually the one in charge, instead of him being the one in charge. He's just kind of the figurehead. But how he is playing to a role there while, you know, he's sneakily crafting a way to stop her. Because he's very intelligent. The captain is an intelligent man. Something the Doctor even acknowledges in the story. When the Doctor sees, you know, the planet's all crushed down and balanced. And while he thinks it's appalling, and from a moral standpoint, of course, he finds it offensive. There is still that little bit of him that's just astounded the captain was able to do it. You can tell by the way Tom plays the role. There's still that bit of the Doctor that's impressed he managed to pull it off. Because the captain is a genius. And I feel like it's easy to lose sight of that fact in the TV version of the story. Again, I love Bruce's performance. And I feel like he's realized pretty well for a classic Doctor Who budget, especially with budget problems in the Williams era. I actually think he's realized pretty well on screen being half robotic. I like it. The robot bird's not the best effect in the world, but again, it lends itself to the way this story is executed on screen well. And I love the fact we get to see a showdown between the bird and K9. I love that. Also, the scene when the Doctor tells them to whack the machine with the wrench, that needs some updated effects too, because that does look a bit wonky. They need to do something with that to make that look a little better. But from a story standpoint, it's great. The dialogue is a 10 out of 10. I love the dialogue in this. I like how the Doctor just walks in, introducing himself, shaking hands. Ah, such hospitality. I'm underwhelmed. I love just all of that. And then I feel like the guest cast does a really good job here. I wish the Queen's death was done a little better. I don't like the fact they just shoot the hologram and she disappears. Again, the novel does more with that. Where it expands on that. And the original version of the story, I'm sure, did too. I just don't like the fact they shoot her and she disappears. That is a little nitpick I have. But easily my favorite story of the season. The Stones of Blood. Another very, very good one. I feel the Stones of Blood, I am the oddball out on this one. I am in the minority in the sense that most people, if you talk to Doctor Who fans, when you talk about Stones of Blood, they love the first half of the story, which is more, you know, goth horror, Hinchcliffe era style, and they are less inclined toward the latter half of the story, which is more scientific, where they're on the ship in the in hyperspace doing the trial. I'm the other way around. I love the second half of the story more. I love when they're on trial and they're talking to the aliens. They're in hyperspace. I like the whole story. I just like that part better. The stuff at the beginning is still good, just not as good to me. One, the guy playing the cult leader, he's a little over the top for me. The actor playing him, I tend to like him better in the novelization. I've read the novelization of Stones of Blood, which is very good, by the way. It's a little over the top for me. I love the two ladies in it. The woman playing Miss LeFay is great, and then the woman playing the older woman, Miss LeFay's friend. I like her a lot too. Professor Fum or something. I can't remember her name, but I like her. They are great. Both of them great. I love the scene when the rock kills the two campers, the man and the woman camper. That's pretty graphic, actually. When you see the hand turning to a skeleton, that's a pretty cool scene. But I also really love the aliens on the ship, the machine aliens that are the judges that are judging the Doctor. I love their design. I love the fact they're not humanoid at all. They're just kind of these little energy beings first off, the effect for them is pretty good. I like the little effect for them. You don't need any updated effects for them, in my opinion. You could do some updated effects for some places in this story if you wanted, but I don't think they need them. I love their little effect, how they're just these little energy beings. That's cool. I love them as a concept, and I love how they're executed on the screen. I love Tom putting on the wig. It's such a Fourth Doctor thing to do, to just put on the little wig as he's defending himself in court. And I feel like when the 14th Doctor does that in Wild Blue Yonder, it's a bit of an homage to that, so I love that. Of course the Doctor has a wig in his pocket. Of course he does. And I just enjoy the courtroom drama and how the Doctor ends up winning at the end. And I like how Miss LeFay ends up as one of the rocks, but the Doctor gets her necklace, which of course is one of the keys. It's a good story. I really like Stones of Blood. Another highlight for the season. I always feel like the first half of the season is better than the second half. Androids of Tara, I like. I like that it's like a medieval story, but a futuristic medieval story. It's like retro-futuristic in the sense that it looks like it takes place in the past, but they have stuff we don't have now, like how the swords have the energy blast cross bolts. They have robot duplicates, which we don't have. So, like, in some ways, the technology is ahead of us, but it's set in this past time. I like how those contradictions just go together in this story. It's a neat concept. Now, I got to give my hats off to Mary Tam for her acting. She's basically playing 4 roles in this story. She's playing Romana, the princess, the robot disguised as Romana, the robot disguised as the princess. She does a good job with all that. Romana as a character is written very badly here. This is very much where she starts turning into damsel in distress. She has to be rescued like twice. She gets rescued, she gets away, gets captured again, has to get rescued. It's a little frustrating. I love her outfit, though. That purple outfit that Mary Tam is in, that is cool. I really like that outfit. I can't remember if that's actually Mary's outfit she wore for this or if it was designed for her. Either way, it's really nice. The guy playing the main antagonist, who I believe is also the guy who played the pilot in the Macroterra. I like him. He's really good in this. And then the guest cast that are on the Doctor's side, like the guy playing the guy who's about to be inaugurated, is good. The one guy that keeps trying to fight the Doctor with his sword, I like him. I love that line when the Doctor's laying down. He's like, would you mind not standing on my chest? My hat's on fire. I love that line. And I love the way Tom says that line. But that one guard, I like him. He's just funny. He constantly at the... I enjoy that. And I just enjoy some of the dialogue. I love the sword fighting the Doctor gets to do with the Grath or whatever his name is. At the end, the little duel they have. I enjoy that as well. The Androids of Tara, like I said, it's one of those stories sometimes when I watch it, I'm just not enthused with it. And other times I watch it, I'm enthused with it. My opinion of it changes every time I watch it, it seems like. So it's a variable one. I guess it depends on my state of mind when I'm watching it. It's certainly not a bad story. Then, of course, we get to that one. The Kroll story. You guys know I'm not a big fan of Kroll. I mean, even from a script standpoint, it's not one of Bob Holmes' best. It's certainly not a bad script. And let's be fair, even Bob Holmes said this was a bad idea. Because Graham Williams told him, I want to have the biggest villain, bad guy, / whatever, that Doctor Who has ever had. So he had to write this big squid. And even Bob Holmes, at least from what I've seen online, didn't think this was a good idea. Because he knew the budget couldn't handle it. But that's what he was told to write. So he wrote it. Because Bob Holmes always strikes me as this guy who just kind of knuckles down and gets on with it, to be honest. Somebody told him to do something. He's like, all right, well. Now, the script is fine. It's not stellar. Again, it's not Holmes' best, but it's fine. It's the execution of the script that doesn't really work for me. Again, this was directed by the same guy who did Underworld. Use that information as you like. I personally like Underworld, but I know most people don't. And I just feel like the effects don't hold up well. And yes, I understand why people want this one to get updated effects, but there are just other stories this season I'd rather see that money go towards. The execution on screen, it just seems so ho-hum and boring. The performances don't save. None of the performances really wow me here. Even Tom, this is the only time where I feel like even Tom Baker's performance, even Tom I just feel like Tom doesn't want to be there. Just nothing is working for me here. There's a couple little parts in there. Like, I do like the scene when, let's get out of here before they add 2 + 2 and get 4, and he runs into the captain and he looks at his face. Your face says you're adding 2 + 2 and getting 4. I do love that. I do love that. But for the most part, I just don't get into this one. I just don't. It's just boring and uninteresting. And then we have the Armageddon Factor, which I feel like is underrated. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the story, it has its flaws. It also honestly needs some updated effects. It does. If Pirate Planet doesn't get updated effects, I want Armageddon Factor to get updated effects. Or they could be nice and give more than one story updated effects here. I mean, you don't have a lot of the people involved in this season still alive, so you can't do a lot of extras, really. So give me more than one story with updated effects. This one could use some updated effects in places. It really could. The guy playing the Shadow is definitely hamming it up. I don't like them reprogramming K9. Drax is just... I don't really care for Drax in that thick British accent. I mean, the actor playing him is fine. I just don't really care for that thick accent. Drax is a little irritating. The bit with the Doctor getting shrunk down is interesting. Andresta being revealed as the key is interesting. That's pretty neat. And how the Doctor uses that information to figure out the ending, that it's actually the Black Guardian, is pretty neat. And I do love that scene at the end when the Doctor confronts the Black Guardian, realizing it's the Black Guardian. And I love the way Tom plays that part. Like, I can do anything I want. There's only my will because I have the key to time. I know the director wanted him to play it more serious and sinister. I feel like Tom Baker made the right call here. I tend to love when Tom Baker sticks to his guns on these things. Because nobody on this planet knows the Fourth Doctor as well as Tom Baker. Nobody. Tom Baker gets the Fourth Doctor better than anyone. And I feel like, especially because Tom was always very conscious of the fact that this was a show that children watched and that the Doctor is the hero of the story. So I think rightfully, Tom realized that the Fourth Doctor doesn't need to be that evil, even for a second, even if he's doing it just for a second. He doesn't need to do that. So I feel like Tom plays this in a way that's very keeping with the Fourth Doctor's character. And I applaud that choice. I'm glad Tom stuck to his guns and went and butted head with the director here. I really, really am grateful for that. Because it does. It just gives you the sense that the Doctor's being the Doctor. He's not considering being evil. He's just being the Doctor, kind of messing with Romana for a bit. And now he snaps out of it like, well, of course I'm all right. I love that, and I applaud him for that. No, my only weird thing is the fact that he breaks the thing and spreads the keys back. Does the White Guardian still need to get the key to reset it? I'm a little confused there. Like, it kind of makes the whole season pointless, doesn't it? Just to gather it all to spread it back. Maybe it just being assembled automatically did it? I don't know. I do wish there was a little more resolution to that. And I wouldn't mind the modern series doing a Key to Time season where the White Guardian shows up and says, you did the right thing last time, Doctor, keeping it from the Black Guardian, but I still need to reset everything. Go get the pieces again. That would be interesting. I wouldn't mind a sequel to that. I actually think in Big Finish they did do a Key to Time too. I'm not certain, but I think they did. I'm not sure which Doctor it involved. Probably 7 or 8, but I'm not positive. And maybe it touches on that. I'm not sure. But overall, yeah, I like this season a lot. Again, really the only bad story for me is Power of Kroll. I think the rest of them range from okay-ish good to really good. I don't know if there's any necessarily masterpiece classics in the season. I think Rybos and Pirate Planet might come close. I don't think there's anything rivaling like City of Death, Pyramids of Mars, stuff like that necessarily. But there's definitely some of them that are my own personal favorite Toms. Again, Rebus and Pirate Planet. But I also enjoy Stones of Blood, Armageddon Factor, and Androids of Tara. It just depends on the viewing. But yeah, it's definitely a good season of Doctor Who. Some good performances from our main cast. Again, my favorite version of Romana. And some good guest cast showing up as well. So I want to know, what do you think of the Key to Time, Season 16? Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. I want to give a shout out to Sam Venning and Colin Coney, two of my top tier patrons. I appreciate their support as I do the support of all of my patrons. It's very much appreciated. I also have a P.O. box. If there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review, links to the Amazon wish list are down there. Links to the Amazon UK wish list are also down there. Most importantly, thank you for watching.